Well, hello there.
Hello, good afternoon. How are you?
I am good. How are you doing?
I am well. I'm blessed. I'm so grateful and thankful to be on today. Feel like I haven't seen you in forever, or I haven't
Amen.
talked to you in forever.
Yeah, you have been on vacation and getaway. How was vacation? How was getaway? How was all that good stuff?
It was great. We went to the mountains with the kids. I don't know if it was vacation, but it was a
Mm.
kids' vacation. You know how that
Kid
goes. So you
vacay.
still working. Yeah, you still working with the
Good.
children. But we had a great time. We had a great, amazing time.
How was the weather in the
It
mountains?
was actually pretty nice. I thought it was going to be like freezing cold because I've been to the mountains in Tennessee and it was freezing. But this time it was great. It wasn't bad at all. I mean, we still had coats and stuff on, but it
Okay.
wasn't as cold.
Wow, very good,
Mhm.
very good. Well, everything is so fresh still in your life because you were just affirmed as prophetess before you left. Amen. And so, how you feeling? You still taking it all in?
I'm definitely still taking it all in. I feel great. I feel great, insightful. I definitely know that God is bestowing wisdom upon me. Sight is definitely clearer, more defined. But with all that next level, new level, elevation is still like, okay, God, where we going? What we doing? So, but I feel good.
Very good, very good, very good, very good. I see we got Rose Greenwood on and others who are coming in on this morning, on this afternoon. Billiquist, good afternoon to those that are coming in. So, what we got today for the last podcast of 2024?
What do we have going on with KGM living your truth? And you said it in no better way, but what the world is going on? What in the world is going on? That's what we're talking about today. What is going on, Arch?
Yeah, what in the world is going on? Well, it is. I've just the last couple of weeks since I haven't since I haven't had a chance to work you 24/7 out of the day. It's been a time of rest for everyone and a time of reflection. Just in my spiritual time of evaluation, just the recap of everything that has happened in this calendar year of 24. I think it'd be good for us just to bring some discussion to on today because, as I told you backstage, that there must be some type of spiritual significance to everything that has either expired or transpired in our lives over the last 12 months of this year.
Yes.
Yeah, everything that we look at. I see Angela has made it in. Those who are coming in, and again, we're doing you a favor. Make sure y'all subscribe to the YouTube channel.
Mhm.
Prophetess Evelyn Woods. Good afternoon to you. So, what in the world is going on, woman of God? What? Either I can start it, you can start it.
I mean, I can start. What in the world is going on? It's so amazing as we get ready to close out this year and step into a new season. The first insight that God has definitely given me insight and saying he basically said we're not closing anything. We're just continuing. We're moving forward. You're still walking this walk. But even just to see where I started out in January, the top of the year, I just remember telling God, like, God, if you show me, if you lead me, I will go. And and literally right after I said that, I began to we met and we linked up and we've been going ever since. So just to see how God has literally, I said one word. I don't know if I was serious or what, but God took that like that's your yes, and I'm running with it. And He knew who to partner me up with and collaborate with, because as soon as I give you a yes, you running with it. So and that's what God did. So just to see that God is literally shifting things around. When you look up and you say something and you look up and you visualize it and you look up and you're like, God, what in the world is going on? But, I think back of, starting the year off with, just me and coming to that place of separation. And it's like ending the year in a place that God has elevated me with, connected me with great people, just to see that, because we could look at the bad side of things and say, all this is happening, all the exposure. But what I see is a shift. I literally see a great kingdom shift. I see that the people of the kingdom, the believers, are being shifted and elevated. I see that believers are so much more insightful. They have more wisdom. And I see the people that were leaders, you begin to see the exposure and the downfall of them. And so I see that God is literally doing a shift in his kingdom. And so what in the world is going on is greatness. Greatness, the shift, the God has his hand on all of us. And so are you ready? Are we ready for the shift? Because like I said, I agreed to it. I gave God my yes, but I don't think I really knew what I was giving. I don't know if I knew.
You were saying yes to.
Yeah, I don't know if I knew what I was saying yes to, but I'm excited. I mean, everything that's been changing and happening is great. It's good. I'm grateful and thankful for the shift. I'm grateful for the elevation. I'm grateful for the partnership with you and Empowerment NYC and Prophetess Nadine. I see the growth in myself, so it's all good, but it's still like, God, what is going on? I did not think at the end of the year I would be considered, Prophetess Chantel or Minister Long or whatever, we say now, but it's like I never would have thought that when I gave him a yes at the top of the year. So that's just my experience. Like, what about you? Like, how do you see this shift in, your personal reference and a world-based reference? How do you feel?
I think that, and let me say again, congratulations.
Thanks.
Congratulations. You are official. It's one thing to be born something, but then it's another thing to be officially walking into that. And so you are officially a preacher of the gospel, which is something major. Because that's one calling that we cannot give back. Once we give God that yes, we don't become unpreachers. That, because first of all, that's something that you ordained to be before the foundation of the world, and now here it is. You're walking in it, and everybody in your family is going to be impacted by your yes. God blessed you to be a great businesswoman, and now coupled with that, you are doing even greater business of winning souls and preaching the gospel. So I don't want to get caught up in that, because that right there, that's just something that is just absolutely amazing. And again, congratulations to you, and to God be the glory. But I think you started off by saying what is needed to say, a shift. Even in I said backstage when we were talking, I've kept you on your tippy toes politically. Every time something politically was hitting, something was coming out, I was texting it to you, sending it to you, and it's a shift. It's almost like how they say the word global warming. It's like a global shift.
Yes.
It's a shift in our churches. It's a shift in the political arena. I think even what President Joe Biden represented, he represented a shift. He also represented a shift of a changing of the guards, because remember, he didn't want to let go. He wanted to stay in that seat. But I believe that when we talk about the spiritual significance of something, that there are even people in the churches and people who didn't want you to become who you are now. Mm-hmm. There are people who didn't want the shift to happen. And so I think even as we begin to look at the different things that are going on around us, and we take it from politics, we take it from the economy, we take it from, and all exposure is not bad exposure. Sometimes exposure is needed exposure. I think it's a shift that's going on in Hollywood. It's a shift that's going on in the music industry. Everything that's coming out is preparing us for what the next is getting ready to be.
Yes, yes, yes.
And so again, I'm excited. I'm excited. Again, with shifts come levels of uncomfortability. It comes some things that you wish you would not have seen and heard, or things that begin to happen. But again, I think the shift is necessary in order to get us to where it is that we need to get to, and to expose things. To expose things. You and I were talking in the back. Again, everything that's going on here in New York, and everything that's been hitting the front newspaper. The young man that killed the insurance executive. it was just so astonishing to me, Chantel, to see that there are actually people that were cheering him on, saying that's what the guy get who got killed. And it's like, I think the spiritual significance of that is it reveals where is the morale of people at in this day and time, that we would clap for someone who has gotten killed or gotten murdered. You know, so I think it's a shift, and all that it's all doing is causing the church to be rightfully positioned. And I think that if we don't pay attention to what's happening, the church will miss its turn, and it'll miss its time, and it will miss its enableness to be able to win souls, and to be able to sit at the table, and to be able to have a conversation to say, this is why God created us to be here, and this is what God created us to do as ministers and men and women of God.
I mean, you just broke that down so well. Yes.
Again, that's just that, you know, that's just the way that I look at it. And with everything, again, here, and I told our church this, that, you know, I think that God has spotlighted New York, which I don't know if New York is one of your favorite places, but if God has spotlighted New York, that everything that has happened, if you notice, has happened in New York over these last 12 months. And just even the heinous crime of the man who set the young lady on fire on the train, that was one of the most heinous things that, you know, that one could have ever seen. And never in a time like this would we have imagined that we would see stuff like this that is just going on. And once again, I believe that God is trying to tell us something. He's trying to get our attention, that will the real church stand up and be about the business of the kingdom and do what needs to be done.
Yes, that's good. And so you pretty much feel like, you know, we're being warned. There's a warning, some kind of warning, but we can't get consumed or fixated on the bad thing, right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I feel like we again, you read the scripture, but you didn't. But and again, I know this is right up your alley because it's scriptures. And go ahead and read the book of Amos. Why don't you read that, Amos 3 and 5?
Amos 3 and 5, you guys. It's so good. Y'all know we just got to take you to the word. We got to do what's right and take you to the word. And so it says in verse 5, does a bird ever get caught in a trap that has no bait? Does a trap spring shut when there's nothing to catch? And then verse 6, when the ram's horn blows a warning, shouldn't the people be alarmed? Does disaster come to a city unless the Lord has planned it? That's so
good. What do you get from that?
That's so good. I'm going to give you an example of what I went through. And, you know, I told you guys that earlier on my live that one of my centers had a, you know, tornado, and, you know, all the trees fell down, and you can get so consumed by the bad things, but is it a warning? And so this time of the year, I noticed even a few years ago when one of my centers had experienced a flood, and literally I ended up being shut down. But to me, if I got so caught up with the disaster, I would miss the warning or the sign that God was giving me. And so even with the flood and the centers being flooded out, God used me in that moment to still represent who he is, because people would look at me and like, well, you ain't distressed, you know, you, and I'm just standing there like, I'm confused at first, but I still had the peace of God. So the glory of God was able to shine even in that hard time, even in that hard season. And so again, as we see things coming on around us, and what I'm getting out of what you've even said backstage, is we can't look at just that bad situation, but God's light is getting ready to shine. And are we standing up? Are we ready? The you know, as saints, as the army of God, are we standing up ready and in position? Some of us move out of position too early, but are we standing in position, and are we ready to win souls? Are we ready to fight the good fight that has already been won? Some of us gets consumed with the wrong fight, the bad fight, the fight that the enemy is giving us, but are we standing in position ready to fight the good fight? And are we ready to move in the kingdom of God and do his work? Like you stated, you said you've started, you know, your own business, but now I'm working for God, and I'm so excited about it. So when something happens, do we get a warning? And I know you're going to break this down even the more, but that's what I get out of when I see disaster comes. God had already allowed it to happen. There's nothing that takes God off by surprise. It was not a surprise when I woke up, and it was a surprise to me. When things happen, it is not a surprise to him. He allows it to happen, but you better believe he's going to get the glory for it.
Yeah, you said in your broadcast earlier this morning when I was looking at the sweet hour of prayer, you talked about the fragrance, and you gave the scripture of Second Corinthians. I think that there has to be a pruning. You know, there has to be a pruning, because if you put a good smelling fragrance over funk or must, that must is going to seep through. You know, back when I was little and we would come in, my grandmother, they would say, all right, go straight to the shower now. You know, it wasn't go put on some smell good stuff. It was go straight to the shower and clean yourself, because again, what is in you or under you is going to seep through you. And so as you were speaking about the fragrance, I think that there's a pruning going on, that God is trying to get everyone's attention, especially those of us that are in the kingdom, that we would rightfully position ourselves to be able to be in the right posture that he can use us for what's coming in 2024. Because again, at the end of the day, we have said it, there's more to life than just material possessions. Those things are good. Those things are there for a reason. They're there for comfort levels. But the Bible says, what shall it profit a man to gain the whole wide world and lose his soul? So I think that there is a re-engagement of soul winning. There's a re-engagement. There's a rekindling of the fire of God that must be reignited within those of us that say that we're believers. And we got to move forward. And like you said, yeah, we can't become we have to look at the disaster for what it is and say, now, God, what are you trying to get our attention to see in all this? You know, what is it that you're trying to show us in all of this? Again, when September 11th happened, and you know how people have the tendency that when something is fresh, you know, everybody's turning back to God. But I always say that September 11th was did not happen just to heighten the TSA security and to heighten IDs and to look at terrorists, but there had to be a reasoning that God allowed September 11th to happen. And I believe that happened to turn our hearts back to him, you know, because whenever a country or whenever people begins to forsake God, he says it in 2 Chronicles 7:14, if my people, which are called by my name, would humble themselves and turn and pray from their wicked ways and seek my face, then I would hear from heaven. So I think in all of this, in everything that's going on, you know, God is trying to get our attention to let us know that, of course, he is our protection. You know, he is our covering. He is our guidance. He is the one that leads us. And those of us that are prophets, apostles, prophetess, ministers, we have a responsibility to communicate to those who cannot see past what they see.
You repeat that last quote right there, what you said. They need to see past what they cannot see.
What they cannot see, absolutely.
That's so good. That is so good. And so can you break that down for some of us that may not, you know, really understand that? Like, how do you see past what you cannot see? What's the breakdown? What's the meaning of that? And especially with everybody saying, I gotta write my vision board and I gotta write the vision and I gotta make it plain. Like, how does that work, you know, with the new year?
Yeah. Well, vision doesn't belong to us, it belongs to God. I only see what he shows me. And so when people, and that's the first thing, when people start saying, I got to write my vision, it's really, you have to write the vision of God, the vision that God gives you for your life. Again, God always throw in some extras, you know, whenever you shop, and let me make the confession because I haven't spoken with you. I've been trying to taper back on shopping so much, but you know, whenever you shop, you always want to say, well, what you going to throw in for that? You know, so God will always throw something in, but ultimately the vision that we're writing for 2025 is, are we seeing through the eyes of God what God wants us to see? Because if we're not seeing through God's eyes, then we're only seeing what we see. But when I'm looking through the eyes of God, I see far past what it is that I see. And I see at such a level of almost unbelievability, because, you know, I cannot do this, or I can't see this on my own. So no way possible. This has to be God. So, you know, when we start talking about vision boards, and when we start talking about goals, it really goes back to, what is the goal that God ultimately has for one life? How you have to see yourself the way that God sees you. God seen you as the prophetess, you know, and he hooked you up with Archbishop and Prophetess Nadine and others to say, this is who you are. This is you are the prophetess Chantel Long. And so again, you know, when we talk about vision, my first encouragement to people is it your vision, or is this the vision that God has given you for your life?
I mean, that's, you know, that's so good. It's a whole word. And, you know, even with me, when I can see the future, you know, when I can see the vision,
Yeah,
the thing that people get discouraged is I don't see the middle part. You know,
yeah,
like I told God, lead me, guide me, take me wherever you
mm,
want. But we get so caught up in that middle part where he doesn't show. Because I'm gonna tell you, if he showed me some of the stuff in the middle, I would have been quit. And this is with business, this is with ministry,
mm,
this is with every aspect. And so a lot of times he will lead you through that part. He will lead you through the valley. But a lot of times he doesn't show you that, because then if he shows you, you're not gonna pray for it. I seen the end of a thing, again, what you said, the end of a thing is better than the beginning. So he
yeah,
showed me the end of that thing, which is look good. I didn't see that middle, but I'm grateful and thankful for his hand. I'm thankful for the guidance. So for the people that are planning, for the people that are saying, I'm creating my vision, just like Arch said, it's not your vision. Ask God for the vision, the purpose of your life, the predestiny of your life, and trust that he will guide you through that middle part, that part where you feel weighed down, that part where he's doing, Arch just said, the pruning and the separation part. You know, that's when what you said is we lean towards God. You know,
mm,
even over the weekend when I was going through the things I was going through, I kept sitting down and not looking, trying not to get consumed with the destruction or the disappointment. But I kept saying, God, what is the lesson? There's a lesson in this. What is the lesson? Because the lesson is creating me to become the woman that God, like you said, I was already predestined to be a prophetess. I was already predestined for
yes,
this. But God, what is the lesson? Because I know that you are developing me. I know that you are building my character for the ultimate point of the vision. Because the thing about God is, when he gives you something, he wants you to be able to withstand it. He wants you to be able to hold on to it. He wants you to be able to multiply it, so that it's not just a blessing for you, but it's a blessing for the people around you. Like you said, when I walked into another level of elevation, I seen how it blessed my family. I seen how it delivered my mother. I seen how it delivered my daughter. I seen the deliverance that God did, not with just me, but with the people attached and connected to me. So again, understanding that you may see the vision, don't get disappointed and discouraged when that middle does not look like the end.
yeah,
don't don't get discouraged on that part.
no, absolutely. And I was going to say this too, Prophet, is that sometimes God shows you the vision in some of the most darkest moments of your life. You know, I said this on Saturday and I said it on Sunday at our church, is that you can be surrounded by darkness but have light on the inside of you. And so sometimes, or in some of those most dull moments in life, or some of those most down moments, or some of, you know, the brokest moments, it's when God gives someone that vision. Because again, the vision does not belong to us, it belongs to God. And so God is trying to show us that he's greater than our now. He's greater than what we're going through. And so I encourage people, write the vision. Make sure it's the vision that God gives, but it doesn't matter what you're going. Ezekiel 37, the word says that it was in the valley of the dry bones. God gave a man a vision for life in the valley of dead bones. And so sometimes it's in that place that God gives it to you. Go ahead, prophetess.
I mean, you know, you got me excited. You right in my lane. But I literally had told my team they were asking me because, we teach children from 6 weeks all the way
Mhm.
to 4 or 5 years old. And so what I was telling them is they were like, well, they were asking me a question about us teaching our curriculum. And they were saying that some of the ones may not understand what we're showing them. And I was speaking to them about the seed. I said, a lot of times the seed, you don't see it. So we're placing seeds inside of them so that when they hit 2 and 3 and 4, they can recognize what it is. But when they're one, you're seeding it. So you can't see the growth that's going on. And a lot of times we get so frustrated and flustered because we don't see the growth. But God is saying, I'm putting a seed inside of you. And the seed is what it develops up under the ground. It develops in the darkness. And sometimes we don't even see that the seed is growing, the vision is growing, but we get flustered because we cannot see it. But we have to understand, and what I've learned even in my journey is sometimes God is hiding that seed so your enemy can't mess up that crop. Sometimes God is hiding that seed down below because he's making sure you don't mess it up and the enemy don't mess it up. They don't need to see what's going on when you being rooted down there. You're being anchored to God. You're being anchored in hope. You're being anchored in your faith. That by the time they see you block, see, it's over with. I didn't blossom now. They can't even stop what God has started. But if I would have allowed them to see what God was seeding down there at the bottom, they could have, kind of intervened and threw me off and distracted me. But God had already separated me and said, nobody's going to stop this because there's something seeding. There's something growing. And so now I can see the value of myself. Now I know where I'm going. It's over with. Like you said, once you got the calling, you can't stop. Once you got the title, you cannot stop. So I'm at a point that I'm not willing to allow anything to take me back. But God had to hide that. Somebody told me the other day, they said, I didn't even notice what you were doing. I didn't know that you was working towards, being a minister. I don't know you were working towards that. You weren't supposed to know.
Wow.
So I just want to encourage people, don't get so fixated on the fact that I don't see it growing. They were telling me, well, I don't see if the children are really getting it. They're getting it. Keep on going. Keep on going. So yeah.
Absolutely. It's a seed planted. You seed planted, and something that you said too about the person that said they didn't know that. I think coming into the new year, speak less and do more. It's not for everybody to know what we're doing and how we're moving, because sometimes we give the enemy more intel than that is needed, or we give people who don't understand. Let me say that too, because I've had family members that didn't understand what it was that I was doing, and I knew that they didn't understand it. So I had to do myself a favor and them a favor in order for me not to fall out with them. I had to hide what it was that I was doing because I knew that they would have tried to discourage me from what it was that I was doing. And nothing brings about division amongst the team or amongst people more than misunderstandings. And so sometimes it's not for us to share every piece of the vision with everybody. We have to make sure that we protect the vision by sharing it with those who are keepers of the vision.
Come on now, keepers of the vision. I know that's right. That's so good. And even as you grow, you just said it right on. They may not even understand it. So sometimes it's two things. Sometimes your family is disagreeing with you out of fear. They fear for you. Because sometimes, I always tell people it's not just hate. Sometimes they're fearful of what you're walking into because what God has covered you for, it's a fearful journey. If you're not covered for it or you're not protected, but when God gives you the sight, you like, I don't see the fear. I see the growth. I don't see the fear. I see the vision. I don't see the fear. I see where God's taking me. And like you said, a lot of people cannot see it. And they also cannot understand it. They don't even have the capacity to understand what God is birthing inside of you. And like you said, they don't supposed to. It's not for them. But they'll see the end result.
They see the end result. Chantel, when I was in 2001 living in the Midwest, and when God had told me and had given me the vision to come to New York and to do ministry in New York, people didn't see it. They didn't understand it. They didn't agree with it. It was that don't quit your day job thing. What are you doing? And it was God's vision. God had given me, so when people see me living now or living good or comfortably or whatever their assessment is of me, they have no idea what I went through to get to where I am. But what brought me here was vision, God's vision. It was never Devin. Oh, I never thought about a young boy growing up in the Midwest. Again, I couldn't see farther than what I seen, but it was something innately spiritually birthed in me that God says that you're going to pastor in New York. And that was November of 2001. And again, and when I trace and look back at the journey, again, if vision belongs to God, God has the responsibility of fulfilling it. However it gets fulfilled, it's God's responsibility. My only responsibility is obedience. Like you said at the beginning of the year, you gave God your yes, and you don't been to Detroit, you don't been to Florida, Miami, you don't been everywhere traveling with us when you gave God that yes. And so there again, our only responsibility in the vision is to give God that yes, and God's going to fulfill the rest of it.
He gives you the grace. It's the
Yeah.
grace, the grace of God that is allows us to get through it. Where other people are looking like, how are you still walking? How are you still standing? How are you still doing this? And He wants to get the glory. So I say it's definitely the grace of God that was even able to me be able to move and float and still, take care of my business and take care of my children. So I definitely feel like He graces you for the vision. He gives you the grace for the project that He's given unto us. So definitely, yes. Mm-hmm.
And for those who are watching again, or anyone who will replay or rewatch, who will say, well, how do I get that God vision? Mm-hmm. I think it is as simple as ABCs. It is as simple as talking to a child. You have to find yourself in the Word. You have to find yourself in a place of prayer to be able to discern the heart of God concerning the next move of God.
Yes, that's so good. And like you said, I'm just adding on to that. But giving Him your yes. When you give Him your yes and ask Him for wisdom, He's going to give you instruction. When Noah went to build that boat, He gave him specific instructions. If you read that word, He literally tells him the dimensions. I mean, like when I remember reading it as a kid, and you read the stories, but when you read the word, the Bible, He gives him specific instructions on each dimension. And think about back then, they didn't have like a measuring tool or anything like that. He gave him the grace to be able to know the measurements of a boat. That's how deep our God is. That's how thorough our God is. Like He was able to give Noah the dimensions and give Noah the wisdom to be able to measure each dimension in each room. Like that's just big.
To build something that had not been built before.
To build something that has not been built before. So the word, like you said, the Bible it's our instructional book. It's our manual. When you get up and say, I don't know how to do this, I told God, I don't know how to start a learning center. And He said, I'll show you. And every step of the way, He showed me things that like literally just like that. And same thing with the ministry. I'm like, God, I don't know how to do this. You calling me to do it. I don't know. And He literally showed me and connected me with the right people. So as you get ready to start this new year, I'm encouraging everyone, just like Arch said, is first of all, don't worry about the how. Just know that God is going to give you the how. He's going to give you the instructions. Do your work, be disciplined, get in a place of, even over the weekend, I had to find my corner. I'm not even at home, but I had to find my own corner and get in the word and say, God, what is the lesson? God, what am I learning? I don't want to get distracted by the thing. I want to know the lesson. And to me, that keeps me in a place of humility because I have to always ask Him step by step. Sometimes everybody wants all 10 steps. You can't handle all 10 steps. He's going to give you step by step by step by step. But it keeps us just like the Israelites. He could have fed them and gave them so much, but He gave them just enough for every day. Sometimes God is giving us just enough for every day so that we can lean into Him. When I'm in this ministry work, it's a new place for me. So I have to lean into Him every single day. God, how do you want me to respond? God, how do you want me to move? God, how do you want me to minister? Because He wants me to stay deeply connected to Him in this journey. So that's just my 2 cents.
That's good. That's good. Again, I guess for us to just to recap and to answer that question, what in the world is going on? God is trying to get our attention, and I think that those of us that yield to Him and those of us that hear Him like you say, you had to steal away over the course of the weekend to get into your word and to get before the face of God. I think ultimately that is where and what God wants in this hour like never before.
Yes, yes. And so if you don't know the way, follow us. Follow us on the YouTube. Follow us. Arch comes on every single day. That's some discipline, giving, pouring into because we can feel it. When someone is pulling and we're pouring, we feel it. So for him to be disciplined and consistent Monday through Friday, every single day to pray. If you say I don't know how to do it, get on Facebook Live, Sweet Hour Prayer. Follow him. That's your starting point. God is going to do the rest, but that's your starting point. Again, I come on every Tuesday. I'm going to add more to my days, but I come on every Tuesday. This is your starting point. You have to do your work, but this is your starting point. If you're saying, how do I do it? Because as prophets, Arch and I is saying, God has given us a warning. For 2025, God has given us a warning. I'm not saying it's good or bad. It's bad if you're not following God and the Spirit is bad. But it's good if you are a believer, if you're walking in the Spirit, if you're walking with God every single day, it's going to be great. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be things that you haven't even seen, things you haven't even thought. It's going to be more than you could have imagined in the greatness, the glory of God. So again, get connected to a community of believers. Get connected. Now is the time to get connected. This is my warning. Get connected to believers. And you got to, and when I said earlier, test it. For some people say, well, I don't want to go because people are fake and there's so many fake. The word says there will be false prophets, but you got to get in the word that you know how to test the spirit. You know how to look at someone's fruit and say, are they consistent? Is their fruit tree actually the fruit that they say they're producing? Are they walking in the spirit of love? Test their fruit. So don't that you're no longer going to be able to say, oh, everybody fake. Oh, people not doing it right. That's no more excuses. No, it's no more tolerance for that. We're in a place of there's a warning, and you need to get into the right place, into the right community, and do your part, and God is going to do the rest.
Yeah, that's old. That's played out when people, what you were just saying, when they have no excuse. They are left without excuses. God will, if you're in the right community, the right tribe, again, and you're following God, God will do the rest. And so, as Prophetess says, she comes on every Tuesday at 7:30, and she has been blessing us, blessing our socks off with the written word and teaching the word of the Lord. And Prophetess, thank you so much for that commitment and that discipline to share of yourself with so many. And so we honor you for that. Yeah, we honor you for that. And again, I'm looking forward to this new year of 2025. It is definitely, we're going to thrive in 25, and it's going to be a year, like you say, take the warnings for what they are. And if you take heed to them, things will turn out good. You know, a car doesn't have to run out of gas because there's usually an indicator that says you low on gas. And so that's a good thing, you know, that we know if we low on gas, we got to stop at the gas station and fill up in order to keep going to our destination. And so there again, the warning does not have to be looked at as bad, but it is what it is. And so I'm excited, Prophetess, and I'm looking forward to 2025. I'm looking forward to everything that God has through the ministry of KGM. It is going to be massive, big, and explosive. And there again, if you all are not following the KGM YouTube channel, please do follow it on YouTube. And also the Facebook page. And Ms. Prophetess says she's going to be adding more content. And we're looking forward to everything that God is doing. All right, Prophetess, you got the last words today?
All right. So again, y'all, we're going somewhere. People are asking about KGM. Okay. So we're excited. So I advise you to, we're warning you to jump aboard now. Okay. Jump aboard. Follow our YouTube, follow our Facebook. There's so much greatness. Just like Arch said, I'm just reiterating what he has said. Grateful, thankful. And you guys, we'll see you this evening. Where are we getting on at? Is it Zoom? Is it
on Zoom? On Zoom at 11:25. You know, let me say this about Prophetess. Prophetess probably wouldn't want me to tell. The first Zoom that Prophetess got on, and I tell this story. I was tired, and I don't know what I did that day, but I was tired, and without even knowing that she flows so much in the prophetic, I gave the Zoom over to her, and she started prophesying to everybody that was on the Zoom. I mean, everybody in the Zoom room I mean, she just started speaking prophetic words, and it was like absolutely amazing. Like, you got to be kidding! You are prophetess who? Oh no, I'm just Chantel Long. I mean, she spoke the word of the Lord from A to Z and was just on fire. And but we'll be back in the Zoom room on this evening at 11:25. I'll post the flyer. I send it to you, prophetess. But I want to say again, my wife and I, we honor you and we celebrate the oil and the anointing of God that is upon your life. It is one of the most purest oils. And I thank God for, again, God giving you to us as a mentee. And thank you for being such a woman of integrity and character and just on top of your game. Again, me and Prophetess Nadine, we honor you and we're always talking about you and bragging about who it is that you are. And we thank God for you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. Thank you, thank you. All right, you guys. So I'll see you this evening at 11:25. We will post the Zoom link. See you there.